Welcome to your personal child specialist podcast. Don't you wish that children came with their own instruction manual? We know they don't. But how about getting the next best thing? By having your common parenting and children's health questions answered by Dr. Poonam Gupta, MD from Charak Clinics, India.
Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of your personal child specialist podcast. आज हम बात करने जा रहे हैं डार्क सर्कल्स अराउंड द आईज.
ये काली काली आँखें.
You might be surprised that this is a big problem in kids too. And who better to talk about it than Dr. Poonam Gupta. She is an ophthalmologist. She has been a regular guest on this podcast. She has a lot of qualifications in dealing with kids with eye problems for the last around 20 years. Welcome to the show, Poonam.
Hi, Gaurav. It's great to be back. I think I've come back after a long time. But let's talk about this topic.
Dark circle around eyes in children. Do you see this a lot in your practice, Poonam?
Yes, definitely yes. In fact, पिछले 1-1.5 साल में suddenly there's an influx of kids and even adults under eye dark circles. So, in fact, बहुत सारे parents अपने बच्चों को इस main complaint के साथ लेके आते हैं कि doctor, my child is suddenly developed this dark and धसी हुई आंखें and dull eyes. What should we do?
आजकल कॉन्सेप्ट हो गया कि हर चीज में वी टॉक अबाउट टॉप 3. So tell me the top 3 causes of dark circles in children.
Oh, that's a tough one. Okay, top 3. First and the commonest is excessive rubbing of eyes. अब वो rubbing बच्चा कर सकता है because of dryness in eyes, chronic allergies, refractive error, मतलब चश्मे की जरूरत है, उसको दिख नहीं रहा है ढंग से. दूसरा है anemia. इंडिया में 65% बच्चे अनीमिक है. That's an interesting figure. The last cause, which is the commonest now, that is increased screen time because of lockdown. अब बच्चों की पढ़ाई, उनकी entertainment, उनका सब कुछ online है, right? So increased screen time has led to night watching of screens, which has led to irregular sleep, absence of deep sleep, and low intake of water because अंदर बैठे हैं. All these 3 factors, screen, irregular sleep, and low water intake. All these 3 factors have caused a sudden increase in under eye dark circles.
So we'll talk about these things in detail, but are there any other causes which may not have been covered in the top 3 causes for dark circles?
Definitely, Gaurav. जैसे कि hereditary. A lot of times when parents have under eye dark circles, kids also have under eye dark circles. And the other factor is excessive UV light exposure. कई बच्चों की skin बहुत sensitive होती है. Not that a lot of kids are going, in the sunlight, but वो sunlight ये बार damage करती है. So it's not a bad idea to wear goggles when going outside. Any chronic illnesses, any surgery, all these factors can cause under eye dark circles.
We have covered the important causes which you see in your practice. So let's take it one by one. Let's start with rubbing of eyes. How can we prevent this as a problem along with the other causes? How do we treat dark circle? Let's look into that.
I think it's very important that every child should have a yearly eye examination, whether they have any complaint or not. हमारे यहाँ preventive checkup नहीं है. So lot of times kids are suffering from decreased vision or chronic low-grade allergies or dryness, and parents को idea नहीं होता. बच्चे used to हो जाते हैं, they adapt themselves, and by the time they come to know, things have already, worsened a lot. Interestingly, our country is obsessed with looks, cosmetic looks. Most of the times, parents will come with a complaint of under eye dark circles, and when I ask the history, sometimes, say 1.5 year back, the child has complained कि मेरे को स्कूल में नहीं दिखता है पीछे से. But they will not come because spectacles is goes against your looks.
Big taboo.
Big taboo. Mothers have, burst out crying. Fathers have gone into depression. And the kid is happy. Best part is, बच्चे को ठीक ठाक अच्छा दिख रहा है चश्मे के साथ. The happiest is the child. And the other is allergies. The history of allergies and dryness, excessive exposure to screens, and low water intake. All this thing can be prevented अगर आप yearly एक eye checkup करा लो.
You talked about something which is my domain also. You talked about anemia. So how important is that in practice, and what do you tell the parents about this?
Nowadays, I have found anemia is a major factor. Because होता क्या है कि they have a deficient diet, they have deficient fluid intake, and under eye dark circles can manifest as one of the symptoms. So I always advise now parents कि आप अपना yearly HB, ferritin, calcium, vitamin D, B12 जरूर चेक कराएं. चाहे आप वेजिटेरियन डाइट पे हैं चाहे नॉन वेजिटेरियन डाइट पे हैं. बिकॉज आई डोंट नो, यू टेल मी गौरव, like 65% is a huge amount of kids in our population to be anemic.
Absolutely, I completely agree, and many parents are not aware of this, that every year every child is supposed to take 3 months of iron compulsorily. हर साल 3 महीने आयरन लेना ही लेना है, because we know that otherwise a large majority of kids are going to remain deficient in iron. And Poonam, interestingly, I was just listening to a lecture of a adolescent health specialist. She was talking about teenage behavioral problems, and she said that the number one preventable cause of teenage mental health problems is surprisingly iron deficiency anemia. So we are talking about eyes here, but if you're talking about the entire health of the child, it is extremely important that we supplement with iron, and if required, vitamins, and of course give them a good diet.
I totally agree, Gaurav. In fact, if you see nowadays, the kids are under a lot of stress, be it academics, be it sports, extracurricular. They have to excel in everything. They have a lot of peer pressure, and being deficient in iron brings down their capacity a lot, which leads to a lot of behavioral problems, like आप irritable रहते हो, थके हुए रहते हो, बिना बात के समझ ही नहीं आता है, और ऊपर से फिर पेरेंट्स से अलग डांट पड़ रही होती है. So this becomes a circle.
So now imagine, Poonam, that I have come with a child and my child has dark circles, and now you have examined the child. How would you counsel me on how to treat the dark circles, and how much time is it likely for the dark circles to get better?
Interestingly, if you ask me, पिछले 1 साल में, so the moment the parents enter, डॉक्टर साहब इसके dark circles हैं, I make the child sit on my examination chair. इससे पहले कि मैं उसे पढ़ाती हूँ, उससे पहले डॉक्टर साहब सारा टाइम सेल फोन पे, टीवी पे लगा रहता है. ठीक है, इतना बात समझाया सुनता ही नहीं है. So I just keep on nodding my head, because आज से अब 2 साल पहले हम ही बच्चों को कह रहे थे, भैया आप स्क्रीन पे जाओ, बाहर कदम रखा तो देखना. अब उनको मिल गई स्क्रीन, अब वो आपके हिसाब से थोड़ा चलेंगे. वो आपको कि सिर्फ चीप पढ़ाई करो, आप अपना यूट्यूब वीडियो मत देखो, आप गेम मत खेलो. आपको हमने कलरिंग बुक्स लेके दी हुई हैं, आपके पास कितने सारे टॉयज हैं, यू हैव ब्लॉक्स, व्हाई डोंट यू प्ले? आई लिसन टू देम, आई नेवर कट देम, बिकॉज पॉइंट ये है कि वो ना पेरेंट्स का फायदा ना बच्चे का. पेरेंट्स भी फ्रस्ट्रेटेड है, बच्चा भी फ्रस्ट्रेटेड है. Once I do a complete examination, I find there are no other causes like vision problems or allergies. Aram se I just start asking them, how's your screen time? What else do you do? Do you have any friends? And water intake, kitni water bottles khali karte ho? I try to interact more with the child. And 90% time nowadays, screen time is the major cause. Hota kya hai? Screen time, cell phone has become a third hand. That's what I tell my patients. It's become a third hand. आप हमारी ओपीडी में देखो, बाहर वेट कर रहे हैं, सेल फोन है. इंसान चल रहा है, सेल फोन है. जॉगिंग कर रहा है, सेल फोन है. रात को उठते हैं वॉशरूम जाने के लिए तो पहले सेल फोन देखते हैं. So it has become a third hand, and lot of kids watch videos or serials or movies on cell phone या on any other screen and before going to sleep. वो उनका sleep pattern disturb करता है, उनका deep sleep disturb करता है. और because indoors हैं तो पानी का intake. So I can understand we cannot be that strict with them. अगर आप लॉजिकली चलो तो जो रिकमेंडेशन है 45 minutes ऑफ स्क्रीन टाइम पर डे, अब नो दैट इज नॉट पॉसिबल. मुझे लगता है now screens are going to be part of every child's life because आपके projects, आपका school work कुछ ना कुछ तो online चलेगा. Extracurricular activities, coding classes, all this stuff. It's going to be there. So you have to monitor it. You have to be judicious. Solution. Now the solution is tough. You have to first convince the parents to let the child go outside because they're very scared of COVID. The child wants to go outside. So let them go outside. They'll play. They'll have good water intake. They'll sleep better. Screen कम हो जाएगा तो अपने आप हो जाएगा. So I tell the child to monitor their own time. Most of the kids above 10 years do that because they are also bothered about their looks. Otherwise, I guess when full offline schools start, this issue will resolve on its own.
I would just like to add a couple of points to fine tune this.
Sure.
One important thing which I always tell parents is that if you have a sleep time for the child, let's say 10 o'clock, 10 baje bachche ko sulana hai, to make sure that at least 1 hour before the sleep time, the child stops looking at screens. That's one. And the second thing is, let's not allow screens into the bedroom. Because when the screens go into the bedroom, then there is no end to it because the child keeps on watching stuff. And as you have correctly pointed out, that interferes with the sleep.
That's a tough one because most of the kids now have their own independent screen gadget. Because online classes हैं, तो या cell phone है या tablet है, कुछ ना कुछ तो है. And because they're also frustrated staying at home in the last 2 years, it's not that clear cut. I mean, for me, the first thing I say is let them go outside. Whatever they want to do, cycle, just walk, just talk, let them go outside and slowly start implementing these kind of rules. And the other thing is, unless parents का कोई official काम है, they should also leave the screens.
We recommend during meals at least कि जब खाना खा रहे हैं, please ensure that the father is not watching anything on the screen, the mother is not watching anything on the screen, and the child is also not watching anything on the screen. So that's tough, but it's very helpful.
Interestingly, lot of times the child tells me, पापा तो गेम खेल रहे होते हैं साथ में, तो मैं बैठ जाता हूँ तो उसमें क्या है? And the father is so sheepish. What will they do? बेचारे उससे पहले complain कर रहे होते हैं बच्चे की, अब खुद ही फंस गए.
Another interesting point about the fluid intake, I would just like to add here, fruits and vegetables are also a wonderful source of fluid intake. If the child takes things like tarbooj, kharbuja, melon, watermelon, papita, apples, they themselves have a lot of water. And of course, you can mix them with milk, make smoothies and shakes, which also will increase the water intake.
Definitely.
And some kids also like flavored water, like cucumber flavored water.
आजकल बहुत है. So I in fact encourage the kids. I say कि आप थक गए ना मम्मी से डांट खा के. So why don't you fix your own water bottle and you make your own personal targets? How many bottles do you want to finish before lunch and after lunch?
We have talked about lack of sleep. We've talked about allergies and other things, and we have talked about a little bit about anemia as well. For anemia, as a pediatrician, it's always important again to stress fruits, vegetables, making sure that there is a diet which is rich in iron. So non-veg foods, eggs, and in vegetarian foods, I would say things like beans, rajma, dal, all kinds of fruits like apples, pomegranates, things rich in vitamin C like amle ka murabba or even nimbu and oranges. All of this, of course, along with green leafy vegetables, which can be even mixed with atta and things like that. So anything you would like to add in this for anemia?
I think you've mostly covered. In fact, I tell instead of चीनी आप शक्कर डाल लें या गुड़ डाल लें. अगर आप खीर बनाते हैं या any sweet कोई चीज बनाते हैं तो use शक्कर, which is unrefined sugar, which is good amount of iron. अगर बच्चे का weight ठीक है तो you can give him अंजीर, किशमिश. This also helps in building up the iron. I have a question, Gaurav. A lot of kids in Punjab have a non-vegetarian diet, and which is supposed to be rich in iron, but still those kids are anemic.
The great question. It's actually the fact that जो हमारे poultry है, the chicken and all is actually not very great source of iron, even though people think. But the red meat and things like kalonji, liver, etc., goat, those are the stuff which are actually very much rich in hemoglobin. This is something which is pretty interesting and parents don't know this. You can be anemic even if you're eating poultry, chicken every day. In that sense, egg is in a way better. So if you're taking eggs on a daily basis, the iron is much more bioavailable. It's easily absorbed. But chicken, yes, you're absolutely right. I have seen kids who are eating chicken daily but still have low iron. And of course, some kids might be having worms also. So deworming is something which we need to keep it in mind in the situation also, right? Great. We have covered most of the things. Is there anything else that we have missed about dark circles around eyes? Sun exposure would be probably one thing which you've talked about. And what do you suggest for that? Like, how can kids reduce their sun exposure? I mean, we probably don't want to reduce them.
Maybe not reduce them. Wear sunglasses when they go out or use a good sunscreen. And another factor which I missed was stress. Stress has got a direct correlation and an indirect correlation on red eyes. Indirect वही कि आप stressed out हो, ढंग से सो नहीं रहे हो, खा पी नहीं रहे हो. And directly also stress causes a lot of under eye dark circles. And last I would say अगर है भी तो छोड़ो यार, क्या फर्क पड़ता है ना? इतना क्या obsess करना? The more you obsess about in front of your mirror, the more you will get stressed and more under eye dark circles you'll have. जिंदगी enjoy कर लो. COVID ने यही तो सिखाया है.
Wonderful parting shot. I don't think there's much I need to add to this. And thank you, Poonam. As usual, you have been a wonderful co-host. This time you were actually a guest, a special guest, not really a co-host.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. Thank you. I also enjoyed a lot.
Take care. We'll see you soon again. If you have any comments, queries, we are available on our YouTube channel, which is called Chara Clinics. And of course, we'll keep on posting more podcasts here as well. Till the next time, this is Dr. Gaurav Gupta, your personal child specialist from Chara Clinics, Mohali, Punjab, India, signing off.